Hello, Mahanhan, and welcome to your deck review. As typical for today's deck reviews, tell me if you all like the music or if you hate it and we should never do it again. For those of you who have never watched one of these videos before, there's a series where I, Maldhound, a known hater and yeller about commanders in Magic, will look at your commander deck and tell you what I think of your deck's PP. Your PP being your premise and your practicum. Your premise is the idea behind your deck. For this deck, it is cheat Hypergenesis out with the new Quandrix from Strixhaven. And then the practicum is the rest of the 99. So this review is going to look at the strategy they want to achieve. Is this gimmick appropriate for their bracket? We're looking at bracket 4 today. And then is there stuff they can change in the 99 to make it better if the idea does fit? Now, on the premise, I don't think we fit. I don't think it's impossible to do this in bracket 4. I think you have what I'm going to call creative friction. This is the thing that comes up in bracket 4 a lot. It's come up in previous bracket 4 deck reviews where, because in bracket 4 the games can be so quick, the cards can be so good, what will end up happening is the support pieces you bring in to make a combo work will be so much better than the combo, will be so much better than your payoff, that you ship of Theseus yourself into having a boring deck you no longer love. And so what I want to bring attention to with this one is you talk about infinite mana combos with Peregrine Drake and Hullbreaker Horror to infinitely bounce everybody's board. That'll win games. That has nothing to do with Hypergenesis. We can't even argue that, oh, Hypergenesis is the way we get it into play quickly, because we have a 6-mana commander who has to come out before we cast Hypergenesis. So we are ramping already. And so it's like, yeah, Hypergenesis can put out an infinite mana combo that I was very capable of putting out without Hypergenesis, and will do something more impactful than Hypergenesis will do. And you talk later in the primer about how, okay, well, some of these Hypergenesis loops like just don't do anything. We have some consistency issues where, like, okay, sometimes I can do Hypergenesis and get a ton out if I get the draw right. And I do want to look up a ruling because I am not a Hypergenesis player. I've not done it. But what I am afraid of is that we're in a situation where, right, I don't think this deck works the way you think it works, which is actually kind of heartbreaking. Anything that triggers during the resolution of this will wait to be put on the stack until everything is put onto the battlefield and resolution is complete, which means you're talking about putting stuff that draws you a lot of cards onto the board with Hypergenesis to keep the loop going. Doesn't work. You don't get any of this massive draw trigger until Hypergenesis is done going, which means for Hypergenesis to work, we have to have like 30 cards in hand, straight up. Like, for the Hypergenesis to immediately win the game, we need a game-winning combo in our hand already, which in bracket 4 Simic, we could probably just do with this ramp package. Like, we could just turbo it out more quickly. And our burst draw is not something we can put out with Hypergenesis to keep the Hypergenesis loop going. Now, you will put like a million you could put multiple burst draw cards onto the field with Hypergenesis, then draw a ton, and you talked about, oh, well, how can I shuffle it back into my deck and then do it again? And that's not bracket 4. For sure, that's not bracket. That's like, that is definitely a bracket 3 level situation. Shuffling stuff back into our graveyard is also just strictly unnecessary for Simic. I do want to try to give you some tools to maybe keep attempting this if you want to, with the knowledge of how Hypergenesis works. Because like Soul the Harvest on the battlefield, you play Hypergenesis, you put 5 stuff out, you will draw 5 cards after Hypergenesis is done. You do not get to draw those cards and then put them out as part of the Hypergenesis loop, which seems like what we think the Hypergenesis loop does. And I just want to double check that, because if I'm wrong about that, I'm wrong about a huge amount of the advice. Make it bracket 4 playable. Yeah, we fold to a lot of stuff. Hey, that's okay for bracket 4. Mana sorceries. There's 4 ways to get Hypergenesis out of hand. I like the idea of spiraling out of control immediately after casting my commander. Very doable. Very, very doable. Okay, coupled with a draw ETB, you can cast your deck. I think that's what led me to believe we think... Oh, no. Okay, we understand how the Hypergenesis loop works. We load up on splashy ETBs, draw a ton of cards. This sentence, I think, was in my head as like, we thought it kept going, but we know that we need to shuffle it back into the deck and do it again with the cards drawn. That's... I think that's just way too slow for bracket 4. Or it's not too slow, sorry, because Simic can do many things on turn 1 or turn 2 that are a path to unnatural and disturbing powers. That is too many moving pieces to ever have confidence in your consistency. You can do this at bracket 4. We can likely do some things that will make you more confident in its consistency than you already are. I don't think this is ever going to be like, this is my bracket 4 deck, it makes me happy every time I play it. I would say like, this is my silly bracket 4 deck. 10% of the time I get to do a really funny thing. 25% of the time, you're not even in bracket 4, you're not even dying to other people did something to me. It's like other people just win before I do the thing that matters. We have... Let me just see how... Okay. We have some very fast mana. We don't have an instant or sorcery in hand, but we have 13 in the deck. Fuck. We have a Temple of Mystery. Cut this. Change this. All right, but we scry 1. I'm gonna bottom you because we really want to hit an instant or sorcery to get this Hypergenesis. I should do the fetch land, but I just want to play out the proactive game plan. So I get Delighted Halfling, Soul Ring, Grim Monolith. I don't hit my... I'm just gonna pretend this is a dual land. I don't hit my... We could do a non-legendary creature card. There's potential that you have Spellseeker, so I'm going to hope that you have Spellseeker. We do. God bless you. I don't think it matters what instant or sorcery I get. We just need to know that I have 1. Let's pretend there's a Nature's Claim target. Now on our next turn. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I go 6. I go 9. We hit Hypergenesis, what happens? I get a trigger doubler out. I get a theft trigger, which is very funny. I get a card draw trigger. I get to graveyard hate 2 other people. That's kind of cool. And I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to draw 14 cards. That is not nothing. So next, and now this is all the way tapped down. I will have to discard a hand size. I'm not going to discard the Gaia's Cradle. Man, if I use 6 or greater, I don't think gets... Oh, well, actually, no, it does. This is actually a place where we experience that little bit of creative friction, because the answer here is you have Craterhoof in the deck, and this tutors for Craterhoof, and you win on your next turn, which would be very bracket 4 appropriate. You did a big flashy thing with Hypergenesis, and then you converted it into a win. So I think the thing that is possible is you can have a bracket 4 deck that seeks to cascade out Hypergenesis with Quandrix the Proof and draw into a win con. I think the part where it breaks down for me is I am going to use what I drew to reshuffle it back into the deck, do it again, and then that's going to be a win con. I think that is a bridge too far for bracket 4. I think that is a great bracket 3 combo idea though. Like absolute ripper. It's you have an aperitif, you have a movie trailer you can show people of like big scary big things gonna happen. Very interactable. You can counterspell me, you can you can attack my ramp, you can just beat me to death before I play anything. Then we do this big scary thing, but it's not gonna win. And then I have to probably fiddle for another turn or two to assemble how this becomes the actual game win. Um, but I think at bracket 4, if you stripped the pieces that were meant to reshuffle it into the deck and make it happen again, and more of our 1 mana spells, I didn't see how much of your 1 mana spells were like efficient interaction, but if your 1 mana spells were like, hell yeah, Swan Song, hell yeah, not Raven Form, is there a 1 mana, like Rapid Hybridization, like cards that were good enough to be played on their own because they stop other threats, and then hey, also they're going to trigger my commanders to do Hypergenesis stuff. I'm going to try to get some like Tishana, like big Tishana card draw play, and then look, I drew into Gaia's Cradle, I drew into Fierce Empath, I tutor a more normal game-ending combo, and then I hit you with that. Aces in bracket, no problems. So let's look at where stuff has to break down. Okay, we have Pongify, great. I think the places I would be making cuts for bracket 4, I think this deck should be split in two, because you talked about if it can't do bracket 4, what game changers should I get rid of to make it more appropriate in that bracket. I think Agent of Treachery, Royal Elemental, Sower of Temptation, these are A+, 10 out of 10 chef's kiss, shake my hand cards for bracket 3. I don't think they do enough for bracket 4. I think they could be more card draw. I think they could be almost certainly more relevant interaction. Agent of Treachery is probably the best because you could steal like a Rhystic Study, you could steal a One Ring, you could steal a Gaia's Cradle from someone else because it hits any permanent. But your interaction being thefty is much more of a bracket 3 idea than a bracket 4 idea. Coratif Irexia is kind of okay, but again, more bracket 3 than bracket 4. It's like a big splashy thing, but it's not winning you the game. And I think the bracket 4 version of this deck wants to go like ramp, Quandrix, remove your whatever commander you played, Hypergenesis into I Terastodon your lands, or I Prime Speaker Zagana, or I Karuga the Macrosage, like the thing that we got to see in the playtest that we did. Based on what I saw, and I realized I only saw one playtest, so take this with a grain of salt, and I don't want to just waste your time watching me like play Factorio with your deck, because I believe you when you have presented how it works. What I don't love is the landfall, because I think most of the landfall stuff is predicated upon second hypergenesis happening on I put these all into play after I have drawn 20 cards. And so I think the bracket 4 version, if you want to remain quirky, you can keep the best incremental draw pieces, which I would say is like Rhystic Study, Sylvan Library, One Ring, of course, right? But I think I would value your massive draw a little bit higher. Like Flood Pits is okay, I'm just not in love with it. Pack Leader's okay. I guess really what I dislike the most is the landfall payoffs. I think all the landfall payoffs are very bracket 3. The stuff that is just like, hey, this big fuck you creature came in, not very bracket 4. That can work in bracket 4. And then you can just dump all 6 of these cards for more fast mana, more interaction, more dorks that help you get there. And then I think you have a deck that really hums in bracket 4, and I think it's gonna maybe feel a little bit unsatisfying to you to hear that I'm just like, oh, just kill him with Crater Hoof. But your journey is interesting. A lot of commander players want their commander's text box to be the journey and the destination. And bracket 4 is really where that begins to break down. Either the journey, like either your commander is going to be the thing that wins you the game, but it's really not going to be how you get there. Ristic study is going to be how you get there, or it can be the thing that gets you there, but you are going to win with something that's already established as pretty good. And I think for this deck, the direction is this lets you get there in a very fun way. You get to get there in like the Simic Ipecac is my win condition, and it's like I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna have drawn up to enough shit in my hand that you can't stop me from winning on my next turn. But we have to be more confident in how we're winning on that next turn, and we cannot be then spending 2 or more turns trying to find Conjurer's Bauble to shuffle this away, and then find another 1 mana instant or sorcery so that we can then cascade again, etc., etc., etc. But then I think this is kind of sick. So I think the cuts I would recommend would be Portal to Phyrexia, Royal Elemental, Sower of Temptation, Glacier Godmaw, AC, Overlord of the Flood Pits, Tatyova, we can try to rock with all these. I don't think you need Galta because we're already doing it. I can kind of see Omniscience, right? Because if you put Omniscience onto the field with the first Hypergenesis and then draw a million, you can then try to win that turn. So I'm rocking with Omniscience. I understand infinite mana for the same thing. Get rid of everything but Endurance and Mystic Sanctuary from here. You could maybe use Noxious Revival for something else. I'm rocking with your tutor package. I'm rocking with your land count. And then I would say just more burst draw. Like Lord of the Flood Pits I'm looking at, and I'm thinking of like Lord of... what's this fucking... he's a big bird. Lord of Change, right? This is the thing we're cheating into play anyway. You have a ton of mana acceleration. We're getting to these high values. If we put him in with Hypergenesis, he draws more than Flood Pits. If we have to cast him normal style, he gets more than Flood Pits, even though we basically concede the game at the point we're casting him normally. And then I realize I'm about to say the most normal shit you've heard in your life. Con Sphinx would be another good game changer to get in this deck. You put that out with Hypergenesis, or you just play it, and you're like immediately gonna get all the cards you need to make this happen. Hinnon would of course be really good support for this because you have a lot of non-land permanents that you are tapping for mana. If you hit any of your infinite mana lines, you now get to flip out your entire deck, which will likely just make you win. And then I would likely bring in counter spells. We're going for like commander protection. I don't think I would ever play my commander on 6 mana. I think I would only ever play my commander when I had 7 mana available. Oh, he has Cascade on him too. I didn't even consider that. I don't think that's terribly important. Because we're not going for a generic value plan. We have a very specific value plan. I would be playing him on 7 mana with a counter spell in hand, unless I saw all the people that would have removal totally fucking tapped out, or I had a lot of like political deals in effect. And then you can bring like Swan Song. You can do like Wash Away just to counterspell other people's commanders. That does make it a little bit hard because it's more difficult to do that proactively. But I think what's cool about that is it does let you do it over the top of other people. Like if you're like, oh man, I have a counterspell, I don't get to do it. It's bracket 4. People are gonna cast stuff. Counter these bitches, and then be like, you tried to cast your commander? No. Also, Hypergenesis. In some ways, that even works better because you probably play your commander and they're going to try to either kill your commander, at which point you counterspell Hypergenesis, or they're going to try to set up to benefit from your Hypergenesis, and then you counterspell that, and then Hypergenesis on top of it, and then they're just kind of like fucketed. Um, so that is where I would be. And then for bracket 3, I would cut Tomb, Monolith, Vault, Study, just because I hate it. What land are we crop rotting for? Probably Cradle. If I was doing this for bracket 3, I think the things I would run, the things I would use my game changer slots on is probably the tutors. And I would probably change crop rotation into intuition or gifts ungiven, because I would be keeping this whole package. And then I would be trying to make sure that I drew the right parts to start making the combo go off. And it would be fine that the combo is happening a turn or two slower because now we're down in bracket 3. So I would take out the gas, I would take out the generically hyper good game changers, and I would keep your game changers on the tutor package that lets you do this dumb, quirky thing with more precision. So if there's anybody who has any other advice, please let me know in the comments. I wish you the very best. This is a funny deck idea. I do think we have to separate the twins here. I wish you the best of luck.